Hello, welcome back. So today we're at Newquay Airport in Cornwall, and if you remember the last video, we landed here after flying in from London City Airport, and that flight was mostly about demonstrating the True Earth GB scenery that I had recently installed. Today we're flying to Edinburgh, and that particular routing was suggested to me by my friend James Counter over on Twitter. Just getting the fuel into the aircraft now, courtesy of GSX. So James, this one's for you. We're going to show off again the QualityWings Avro RJ 100. There's really been no changes to the sim since we were last here. It's only been about a week since I made that video, so nothing has changed in terms of software or hardware. Same combination, nothing really much to talk about there. We will be flying out of the True Earth GB South scenery, of course, and I'll show you when we get there, but it's quite interesting. The scenery is literally a straight line across the Earth. The boundary of the scenery is just a straight line across the body of Britain. Of course, we're high enough up that we'll be able to see that, so you will just see this line stretching across the country where the photo scenery stops and the land class scenery begins. So that's quite an interesting comparison to make. I'll point that out when we get there. Now, this is quite a long flight, even compared to the flight from City to Newquay. So again, this will probably be a two-part video, and I will probably cut out some of the middle parts of the flight, some of the cruise where it's a little less interesting, maybe do a montage of some description, try and get the time down a little bit. The last video weighed in at nearly 2 hours with all preamble, etc. In two parts, admittedly, but they were a good 50 minutes each, and not everybody has the time to invest in that. So that fuel truck's going to drive straight through the plane, and it has its lights on, which is even more fun since it is, of course, the middle of the afternoon. Sim time, by the way, is real time today for a change. So I have actually brought the sim up to real time, and the reason for that is it's a really nice day here in the UK. I think pretty much everywhere in the UK, but certainly down here in the south and in London, it's very nice. It's been very warm. It's getting towards 5:30, 6 o'clock now, and it's been very pleasant. Yeah, early 20s. They think it might be the warmest Easter on record, so it says on my news today. So we will see if that's true or not. Anyway, we're fueled now, so I'm going to ask GSX for my catering service. Let's go with Gate Aviation. Still got GSX on. As I mentioned in the last video, I will happily get rid of it if you don't like it, but thus far nobody has commented to say that they don't, so I'm going to keep it. And why do the trucks drive past like this and then come back again? Again, the trucks seem to follow the AFCAD lines for taxiing, and I don't really know. There goes the fuel truck. It's driven all the way down and back again. I don't know exactly what they're playing at. It doesn't really follow logical sense, but never mind. Anyway, this is UK 2000's Newquay Airport, and you can see there's lots of interesting detail here, including all these lovely parked cars. To my eyes, some of them look a bit old school, but I think this airport is a few years old now. UK 2000, this is part of the VFR Airfield series. And as always, I thoroughly recommend that series if you want sort of medium detailed airports, much better than stock. Not quite as detailed as a full payware airport, but you do get 30 odd airports in each of the 3 packs, and I think they're about 30 quid each. So, you know, for less than 100 quid, you're getting basically 100 really well done detailed airports. I personally call that a pretty good deal. And I'm not in any way a salesperson for UK 2000, but I really do like their stuff, and also it blends very well with Urbex's Great Britain scenery, so, you know, what's not to like? As you can see, we're at the gate. This is gate 23. We did park up at the parking over the way when we came here first time, but of course this aircraft has been in the hangar since then. This is my real world explanation for you. And so it's been rolled out to the gate. Just going to open the right hand side doors. There you go. Let the fuel on. Let the catering on. And I've set this parking position up with GSX as best I can to try and make everything work the way it should do. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the vehicles today have decided to start coming from the other side of the airport and then go all the way back and round again, which it wasn't doing before. But who knows why it does the things that it does. If we just take a quick look round, you can see the trucks drive all the way over into the distance there, roughly where that fire station building is, and then they drive back again. They appear to be spawning over here somewhere and then driving straight past, which is not what they used to do. These other aircraft, by the way, are just static aircraft, part of the scenery. I do have Ultimate Traffic live on, but this is not a busy enough airport that you'd be likely to get any. Scenery-wise, currently on normal level. So there's quite a few buildings, but not that many. And I don't have the autogen turned up particularly high on this machine. This is the host machine. I do have it turned up quite a bit higher on the client machine, generating the outside view. So you will see when we're airborne, you will see quite a lot of buildings dotting the landscape. And True Earth GB South with good amounts of autogen turned on is pretty good, and the performance is fine. I might dial the autogen down when we get towards Edinburgh. The scenery there is a little bit intense. The airport scenery, it's a full-on UK 2000 extreme airport, so again pretty intense. I've found it quite choppy on frames, even at normal. I might have to go down to sparse. I don't really want to. I lose too much detail when I go to sparse, but sometimes if you want decent performance, it can't be avoided, not at least on a system like this, which is having to generate the two outside views, and thus it's costing us frames. You might be aware, actually, if you are a fan of Prepared, that Prepared version 4.5 came out very recently, and this is not Prepared 4.5. In fact, this is still Prepared 4.3. I didn't update to 4.4. I have no real use for the physically based rendering at the moment. I don't have any content that supports it, and I heard there were some incompatibilities, and equally 4.5 there appear to be some problems, and there doesn't seem to be much really to recommend it to me. I will upgrade eventually, of course, just because you want to be on the latest thing, but I want to make sure all my add-ins are working properly and that I'll benefit from it. Some people are saying there are significant frame rate losses. Other people are saying not. Some people are even saying there's frame rate improvements. I mean, the release notes suggest that there should be decent improvements in performance, but that for me is kind of the holy grail. If I can get an extra 10 or 15, 20% frames on my client machine, then things would get a lot smoother for a lot of these flights at higher detail levels. But as you know, if you're in the flight simulation fraternity, it's a never-ending pursuit of higher and higher performance machines in pursuit of better frame rates, really. Yeah, so you can actually see, look, the catering trucks were driven all the way down there, and now they're going to come all the way back around. So that, for whatever reason, they've chosen that route. They weren't doing that before. I've no idea why they're doing it now. Maybe one for the GSX authors to have a think about. I'm not about to start tinkering with the AFCAD for the airport, so there you go. Okay, anyway, we have now had our food supplies delivered, so we're about ready to get passengers to board. So let's pop into the aircraft. As you can see, we are not cold and dark. We do have the ground power on. You notice how the annunciators took a second to come on there. I don't know why that happens, it does sometimes. Appears to be a bug with the aircraft. So it looked like it was cold and dark, but it really wasn't. So we've got the ground power on, and we're set up in just the usual mode for sitting on the ground. We've got the systems on, but pretty much nothing else. We'll need to take care of those as we go. I'm going to tell GSX to request boarding, as you can see. And the crew will board first, and then the passengers. And while that happens, we will do some radio work and get the aircraft set up. So let's open the cargo doors so they can load the cargo. Just pop back out again for a second just so you can see that happening. There are the missing cargo conveyor belts from last time. Remember at London City they were missing. I don't exactly know why, but they're back. Then the baggage train will pull up, and these guys will offload bags via the conveyor belt into the aircraft. I've seen other airports with other kinds of conveyors and loaders and so forth. I don't know whether those are add-ons that you have to download for GSX, or whether they exist in the product and they're allocated based on the airport class or something. But these are the only loaders I've thus far been able to find. I know you can select different ground handlers, so maybe it's got something to do with that, I don't know. And again, all the vehicles are following this weird pattern. Very strange. Anyway, let's leave GSX to do its thing. Let's stop and fix this view, there you go. Of course we could sit here and watch the baggage go on, but not just yet. Let's go over to the ATIS first.
Echo, Golf, Delta, Golf, airport information, Victor 1550, Zulu, weather, wind 14, at 9, visibility 10,000, sky clear, temperature 2.8, QNH 1028, advise on initial contact, you have information, Victor, Echo, Golf, Delta, Golf, airport information, Victor 1550, Zulu, weather, wind 14, at 9, visibility 10,000, sky clear, temperature 2.8, QNH 1028, advise on initial.
So good, I listened to it twice. Okay, so we've got the ATIS. There's the crew bus. Yeah, there you go, parking right in the middle of the generator. I remember this from last time. I did actually try going into the scenery to find that ground power unit and remove it, but I wasn't successful. Having said that, I'm very much a novice with the airport design editor. So we'll just have to deal with it as it is. And there are the baggage trains. Now it's interesting. You see, you've got the two that started out. They just disappear, although they're going to take the same ridiculous routing around. And then this other two turn up. So it's almost like those are the carts for the deboarding, and these are the carts for the onboarding. I don't know. GSX, you are a very frustrating piece of software, but you know what? I'll keep you going for now. Just because, well, why not? I paid money for you. If anybody is a bit of a GSX wizard, let me know in the comments what I'm doing wrong. You'll also notice, of course, stepping out, that there's no vehicles here on the outside because you can't synchronize GSX on the network between two machines, which is why we're doing all this over on the host machine inside the simulated world. If I could find some way to network it, would be great, but again, the GSX authors have said that's just not a priority for them, and I can understand that. You know, the number of people who need to do that, in other words, the number of people who are running proper flight simulators who want ground services handling added into their simulation, would be pretty small. And I could run GSX on the client computer, but then I'd have to run it out synchronization with the host, and it would, well, it would just suck a little bit. Excuse me while I have a drink, because it is rather warm here. Actually, if we just pop over to this view, it's a little bit more interesting. You can actually see things happening. So, oh, there's the baggage. Nice selection of red and blue suitcases. All right, that's enough of that. Passengers will turn up, and we'll keep an eye on it. Right, back into the cockpit. So, let's get over and get our clearance from clearance delivery.
Clearance delivery, Speedbird 7190 with the ATIS request clearance.
Speedbird 7190, roger, runway 30. Climb and maintain flight level 60. Expect flight level 270 within 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 121.0. Squawk 2770. QNH 1028.
Cleared to EGHQ via vectors. Climb into flight level 60. Expect flight level 270 within 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 121.0. Squawk 2770. QNH 1028. Speedbird 7190.
Speedbird 7190. Readback correct. Contact ground control on 119.0.
Roger, 119.0. Speedbird 7190.
Put that in, 119.0. And then we just need to put in the transponder code as well, which was 2770. See, I should write these things down, but I can just get them straight out of Pro ATCX's control panel, so why go to the trouble of writing it all down? 2770. And we'll set the transponder going in ground mode. Alright then. So on the panel, let's have anti-skid on, auto spoiler on, both lift spoilers on. Those are purely ground spoilers, remember. The speed brake is a different system that is manually activated. These are automated ground spoilers that will pop out and help you slow down when you land, and also when you're taxiing. Okay, everything else on the panel looks alright at the moment till we get round to engine start. Oh yeah, standby inverter and generator should go on now. PTU should go on now. And I think that will do for now. Yep, that will do us for now. Okay. Here, passengers boarding in the background. So let's get down to the FMC, and as usual we are going to load the ATC route, EGHQ to EGPH, route uplink. Okay, so runway 30, and we'll put the rest of the route in a moment. Got your legs in there. Yep, that looks normal, so we just need departures and arrivals as usual. Departure is going to be runway 30. There are no SIDs here. I mean, there might be some in the real world, but there certainly aren't in the database that I've got. And then arrival, according to Pro ATCX, it's going to be approach to ILS 06. And no transition or star given. So it's vectors. I hate vectors. Still, never mind. One must do what ATC commands. Okay, so... Right, we've got a minor route discontinuity there. D322U.
Speedbird 7190. Squawk 2770.
Squawk 2770, Speedbird 7190.
Now, I'm already squawking 2770, but sometimes they just don't notice. Anyway, as I was saying, D322U is obviously wrong in the database, and so it's done what happens, and it's reset itself to position 00, which is why it's 3,500 miles away. So I will delete that. And then I'll just collapse up the flight plan like that. Okay, that looks good. VNAV. Cruising at flight level 270, speed 270, 250 up to 10,000. Target speed for cruise 280 knots. I'm going to override that and go to 290 just for that little extra burst of speed. And the descent to 4,000 feet at UW, 280 knots on the way down, 240 under 10,000 again. that all looks fine. Set the EFIS into the right modes. And we're good on the FMC. Okay. Right, over on the panel, let's just have a quick look at the trip computer. Okay, 95.1% N1, 141 knots VR at 18 degrees of flap. Yeah, on this runway that will be fine. So we'll just do a normal 18 degree takeoff. VREF at 30 degrees, 3 degrees of flap on the other, it'll be 130 knots. That's eminently doable, so all looks good with the speeds. Okay, back to the panel. GSX wants me to close the doors as the passengers have all loaded. I'll close the cargo doors as well. Pop outside. Last door closing. Stairways will depart. There you go. You gotta wonder, GSX authors, wouldn't you be able to add? You've got your little animated people. Wouldn't you be able to add a person pulling those ladders back? Would that not make more sense? Anyway, there goes the passenger bus. So GSX's job is done until we get a pushback. And excitingly, at this airport, of course, we do get a pushback. And there's the pushback truck waiting for us. Unlike at London City, where you just drive straight out, here we do have a pushback. And we'll get to that in a bit. Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have just closed the main cabin door. All personal cellular telephones must be turned off and stowed for the duration of the flight. Flight attendants,
Well, we'll let the cabin attendants get on with their jobs. And in the meantime, we're going to ask for startup and pushback.
Grant Speedbird 7190. Request startup and pushback.
Speedbird 7190. Startup and pushback approved.
Approved. Speedbird 7190.
Okay, our startup and pushback is approved. Turn on the left inner fuel pump to get fuel flowing for the APU. Going to start the APU.
Gentlemen, we'd like to welcome you on board this flight. At this time, I'd like to direct your attention to the flight attendants while we review safety information about this aircraft. Your seatbelt should be fastened at this time. It is our policy that you keep your seatbelt fastened at all times.
Turn on the fasten seatbelts line since the since the attendant is saying that you should have your seatbelts on. Switch in the APU gen. Turn off the ground power. Withdraw the ground power unit. We're ready for startup. Going to turn on APU air. Turn on packs 1 and 2. Get the oxygen system running. Now I'm going to tell GSX to prepare for pushback and departure. We are going runway 30, so we want nose left and nose right and tail left. And I don't want to start engines before pushback. So if we just pop outside, you can see there we have it. Pushback truck is in place, and now the pushback process will begin. So it starts off with this guy telling me we're ready for pushback. And he'll keep me informed. Sorry. Anyway, he'll keep me informed as we go, so I know what's happening. In the meantime, we need ice protection on. We need all fuel pumps on. Start master on. Engine selector to 1.
Bypass bin inserted. Release parking brakes.
Going to release the parking brakes for them.
All engines clear. Start at will.
Pushback will start. Beacon light will go on. And then, so you can see we're actually pushing back. Got the heaters on. Start engine 1. You should know the drill about this. Actually, I'll just bring this up, but just watch that go to 20%. When the N2 gets 20%, we put in the fuel, and we get a good start. Starting number 2. Good start, starting number 3. Good start on 3, starting number 4.
Parking brakes.
Parking brakes on. We got a good start on number 4. That's a good start, all engines. Okay, so generators on, hydraulic pumps on, AC pump to auto, PTU off, moisture protection goes off, engine air 4 goes on to power the release valves, start master off, engine selector to off.
Unlocking gear. Tow truck disconnected. Bypass bin removed.
Okay, so the pushback truck is now disconnecting. Let's go and talk to tower and ask for
Grant Speedbird
taxi the runway.
7190. Request taxi.
Speedbird 7190. Taxi via Mike to runway 30.
Via Mike to runway 30. Speedbird 7190.
Ride is clear.
Okay, GSX has pretty much done its thing now, so let's turn on the nav lights and the taxi lights. Don't really need taxi lights in this daylight, but I think it's good practice to put them on. As always, it won't take an awful lot to get this aircraft going. Just make sure everything that we need to have set is set, and everything does look good for now. Okay, well let's pop over to the usual view. Now hopefully this will be a little bit clearer this time. I'm actually recording to a 4K video stream from OBS. So although my actual screens here are 1920 by 1080, I am compositing them onto a 4K canvas. I was going to say panel, but I meant canvas. And so hopefully when I then transfer it to the 4K master frame in editing, things should come out a little bit clearer than they were last time. I did notice they were slightly fuzzy. Okay. Take off the parking brake and start to roll. Just a little bit of thrust to get going. It's not a long taxi, but neither is it anywhere near as short as London City. Nose steering seems to have a little bit of a rightward bias. Yeah, the right engines are actually very slightly higher, and the left. So the other problem, of course, is that my my throttle levers are not perfectly balanced. Unfortunately, you know, with potentiometer-based devices, you can't really get it perfect. You would do much better with Hall effect sensors, which are much more sensitive and need less calibration. but they are very expensive, so you don't find many flight simulation devices using the Hall effect sensors. You know, at some point maybe I'll look at the mechanism of this throttle and see if I could perhaps switch them over, but I really don't know whether or not that would be possible. And to be honest, you know, I don't really want to go delving around in the innards of my throttles unless they're actually broken, which of course they're not. So there's the parking space where we pulled up last time, behind that Flyby. Okay, we're moving at a decent clip now, so I'm just throttling down. Alright, let's get the flaps coming out. So this is the control tower. Now remember that this effectively is two airports in one, because it used to be an RAF base, which is on the other side, and you see there's another tower over there, which was the RAF tower. But the RAF base closed down a while ago. I'm not sure if these buildings are actually still there in the real world. This is the civilian side we're on now. Nonetheless, there's still what looks like a military Sea King helicopter over to the left there. Okay, we've dawdled down to about 9 knots. Let's put a little bit more thrust in. I generally try and keep the taxiing speed of this aircraft below 20 knots. I mean, sort of 15 is a decent pace. So keep an eye on that. In the meantime, I'm going to turn on the flight directors. I'm going to set the initial speed for the auto throttle to 240 knots. I'm going to arm the auto throttle. Already dialed in 6,000 feet as my initial altitude. And then as we're rolling, once we get to a few hundred feet, as before, I will arm the speed and VS and let the autopilot take over the climb while I contact departures and get our routing. In reality, it's just straight to our first waypoint, which is Unbig. So I'll just set the heading in that general direction now. Oh, good. I'll definitely wobbling a bit on the taxiway. Yeah, so I'm having to put in a little bit of leftward rudder to keep us on the straight and narrow. As there is a bit of a rightward drift here. I wonder if the real aircraft in the real world is quite as sensitive as this, because this is very sensitive. Now, if I've timed this right, by the time we get to Edinburgh, it'll be getting a bit dusky, not dark. And we should have a nice set of runway lights to come into. I do like night lighting in the sim. Unfortunately, actual full-on night flying is less than brilliant. So one drawback of projectors, they don't do blacks particularly well, even with a high contrast screen like this. It's the traditional problem with an LCD projector, at least, is that there's always going to be some bleed through of the backlight. Don't forget, the lamps on these things are very powerful. So, and the panel the LCD panel cannot be opaque enough to screen all that light. Wow, I'm really just drifting all over the place here. Slow down a bit. Yeah, this is not the best taxi I've ever done. Not in this aircraft, anyway. I did quite enjoy my taxi at London City last time. I thought that was pretty good. This one, not so much. Passengers probably not enjoying it.
Speedbird 7190. Contact tower on 122.1.
122.1. Speedbird 7190.
1, 2, 2. Let's pull up here. Decimal 1. Okay, well everything looks reasonably good, so I think we are more or less ready to go. Let's ask for departure.
Tower, Speedbird 7190. Holding short, runway 30. Ready for departure.
Speedbird 7190. Line up runway 30.
Lining up runway 30. Speedbird 7190.
Okay, put my strobe lights on and the landing lights on as I'm about to enter the runway. Try not to oversteer, but also try not to understeer. See if I can get it spot on.
Speedbird 7190. Wind 320 at 8. Runway 30. Cleared for takeoff. Good flight.
Runway 30. Cleared for takeoff. Speedbird 7190.
Okay. Things look good. We are ready to go. So this time we're not going to stamp on the brakes, we'll do a rolling start. Yeah, looking good. Set takeoff power. A little bit wide on the runway there. Again, pulling to the right. Airspeed's alive, of course. It's a V1. Routine. And plenty of room for the rotation. Just overdid it a little bit with the nose up there. Yeah, coming up. Okay. Speed
Speedbird
VS
7190. Contact departure on 121.0.
Pilot's on.
121.0. Speedbird 7190. Departure Speedbird 7190. With you passing 1,700 for flight level 60.
Speedbird 7190. Climb to flight level 200.
Climbing to flight level 200.
Straight up to 20,000.
Speedbird 7190.
Speedbird 7190. Turn right heading 045.
Right turn to heading 045. Continue on navigation to UNVIG. Speedbird 7190.
Okay, make the right turn. A little bit of haze going on. Some nice shadow effects in the cockpit, as you can see. I do like that kind of thing. All helps to add to the realism of it. check out the coastline. As always with True Earth GB, that's very pretty. A little bit of weather around, some cloud over there, nothing major. And a fairly big haze layer. We're on the climb straight up to 20,000 feet. No SIDS at 3,000 feet this time round. As I mentioned last time, I've got ForeFlight running on my iPad over here. You won't see it, but it's pretty useful. Right now I'm watching a moving satellite image, tracking my position. Okay, we're on an intercept course now, so I'm going to switch to LNAV mode. Okay, LNAV's on. So the aircraft should now fly the course. Pretty much without any intervention from me. And of course this is the tube line of life. You don't have to do a great deal of flying after the takeoff and until the landing. And it's mostly managing the systems from here on out. Very different kind of flying to the hand flying you do when you're going GA. I must admit, even flying GA, I do like to have a good autopilot. There's Bodmin Moor to our right, and then Dartmoor over there, so you know we came in the opposite way on our flight in from City, so we came in along the coast there, past Plymouth, which is over there. Flaps are coming up. Just past 10,000 feet, so we've accelerated, or we're accelerating to 270 knots. And I'm going to turn off the fasten seatbelt sign so that passengers can move back to the cabin. The rest of the climb is going to be pretty smooth. Minor course correction there, not sure quite why. Might have been a gust of wind. Okay, so we're on our way. Now, we're going to head to Unbig, which is about 75 miles ahead. Doesn't look very far on the navigational display there, but I have got the range at 160 miles. If I bring it back to 80 and then 40, you can see it disappear off the top there. So it's going to take us a while to get to Unbig, and Unbig is it's basically just by the south coast of Wales. You can see the Welsh coast over there, so we're basically on our way up the Bristol Channel now. And when we get to Unbig, we will turn left and head on up the country. And as I said, this is the kind of flight where, to be brutally honest, the cruise mode is a bit boring. And so, fairly soon, I imagine, I am going to hand you over to a montage. And we'll pick it up further down the track. So, see you then. we're just about to cross the Welsh coast. We're down by Port Talbot and just across the way from Swansea. Picked up a bit of cloud, a bit of a cloud layer, and also looks to be a high cloud layer a little way above us. So things will get a little bit more obscured, I think, as we go. We've got the ATC chatter on, as you can hear. We have climbed to our cruising altitude of 27,000 feet and accelerated to our cruise speed of 290 knots. And whilst you were gone, I did a bit of housekeeping, switched over from APU air to engine air, did that fairly early on, and a little bit later than I should have done though. I really should have gone over at about 3,000 feet. And I've now turned off the APU, and obviously all the lights went off that I didn't need, and just configured really for cruise flight. So when we get to Unbig, we're going to make a little bit of a left turn. We're already heading approximately northeast right now, so our actual heading, as you can see, is about 035, and when we get to Unbig, we'll just turn a little bit left to about 024.
9943, turn left.
That's going to take us up over the Brecon Beacons, which I imagine look quite good in true earth. But you can just kind of see them down there now. So over here and here, see mountain peaks, mountain tops. If I take you over to the outside view on the sim. There we go. So these are the Brecon Beacons. Over there in particular, there, yeah. Now we're making a turn, you can see.
Hotel, continue pressing heading, report the heading. Heading of 270. British 803, turn left, radar heading of 230, climb flight level 16 today. At 230, flight 160.
Once we get over the Brecon Beacons, we're going to pass, well, Powys is about the nearest place. We're going to pass over Newtown on our way to Monty, which is the next major waypoint. Then we go past Wrexham, over Denbigh, and then back into England, over Holton, and then Liverpool, which is the next kind of major landmark. Then Blackpool, then just off the coast until we cross over the coast again at Barrow and Furness. Over the Lake District, which again, if there's not that much cloud, may be reasonably spectacular, although I am actually seeing cloud at the moment. And then past Carlisle and up into Scotland. Next major milestone for us in terms of things to see is going to be the magical dividing line between GB South and FTX EU England, so I will come back to you when when we're approaching that. Well, unfortunately this video has gotten too long to put up in one part, so come back for part 2 very soon.